Hopefully with all that wind, the Wi-Fi holds up. Are we live? Are we live? We're live!
We're live.
We are live, folks. At home, what's going on? Drop us a comment, drop us a thumbs up. Let me know when you're in here. Got my boy John Bolin, my boy Ronnie Kelly, and then this ugly mother you guys are used to seeing. Here we go. Here we go. TikToking. Because he been TikToking, whatever that song is. Anyways, we're going to do normally a Friday night seminar, but they normally air on YouTube on Sundays. We're going to do a live YouTube seminar where we answer questions. So you guys go ahead and start dropping questions in right now. Hey, it is Easter Sunday, so hey, happy Easter to everybody out there. Please take time to remember what this day is really about. You know, I know a lot of people got off for Good Friday and all that. The fact of the matter is, we're all monkeyed up. Like, I'm as flawed as any human being you'll ever seen. He's as flawed as any human being you'll ever seen, and he's a knucklehead too. And so we all need that forgiveness that came about. It is the reason that we celebrate Easter. So please focus on that, spend some time with your family, and let's take this opportunity with everything that's going on in this world to love our families, be better fathers and husbands and wives and daughters and sons and all that good stuff, and honor what we need to honor. So here we go. Here we go.
I'd like to go ahead and pass the offering plate around.
Pass the offering plate. Here it is. Actually, we have Super Chat. No, don't.
Is that where you can send money?
You can send money through Super Chat. Please don't. I will feel really.
Please send me money.
Right here.
Dollar bills, y'all.
You took that way too far.
That is awesome. Hey, you know, guys, the fishing has been just.
It's been good.
It's been really
good.
Really good around Lake Fork and really all of the East Texas lakes. And, you know, instead of just giving you guys a report, we do so much of that on this channel. We really want to focus on you guys' questions in this live seminar. We kind of got a round table to do. This is actually an idea of one of the viewers. He goes by Big C on YouTube. What is, Mr. Goforth, I believe it is. Calvin Goforth. This was his idea. He actually suggested in a comment that we should do a live roundtable so that you guys could ask questions in place of the seminar. So great idea. We're going to do it this Sunday. If our schedules can line up, we're going to try to do it every Sunday. I know I will be on the road back from out of town next Sunday, so that may be tough, but we will figure it out as we go. But right now, we got this deal on Sundays. Mondays, we got On the Water videos. Tuesdays, we got podcasts. And this week's podcast, we got MDJ calling in to talk to us. Yeah, Matthias Daniels Jr.
You got Thursday.
We got Wednesday, we got Guys Network Instructional. Thursday,
Wild Girl Wednesday.
Thursday, we do a live stream for Top 5 days. Friday, we don't do nothing. We just get freaky. Then on Saturday, we do our Fish Life Outdoors. So we got a full schedule. You got content basically 6 out of 7 days a week here. So John Denny said he was wondering about y'all this morning with all the storms. Are we okay? Yeah, everybody's fine. The storms weren't really that bad.
No.
I mean, they rained hard, but we didn't have any.
In Tyler, they were bad though.
Were they?
Yeah, there was a tornado. It didn't touch down, but it was in White House.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't have anything severe from where I live, which is Van North. We didn't have anything severe, so no, we're all good. A lot of rain though, which we really didn't need at this moment. Happy Easter, happy Easter. Man, y'all drop some questions. I need questions. Randy Swindoll.
Nephew.
Have you heard of that guy?
What's so stupid?
He just posted some eyeballs looking like this. I don't know what that
He's
means.
drinking Miller Lite right now.
Probably so. Hey there. Okay, sounds good. Can Jonathan show us how he does those? You have TikTok?
I do have TikTok.
Oh no.
I do have TikTok.
Do you have like people actually watch your TikTok?
I do actually. I do.
Randy wants to know if you can show us how we do these TikToks.
Oh no.
Jodan says he's drinking. He's drinking too. Jodan's in the house.
Drinking.
Jordan Spalding's in the house.
Jodan's drinking because his wife won't let him
Let's
leave
say
the
hi
house.
to everybody.
Hey,
Shots fired.
Quarantina done come to Jodan's house and locked him down.
Shots fired.
Quarantina looks just like Brittany.
Can we get? This is a good question. This is the question of the night so far. Can we get Ronnie to wear a fitted hat that glare is killing me?
Man, who is that?
That's gonna be
there might
juice
be
is
one out
tilted.
there in my dang truck. So if
Bro,
you
I
need
don't
to
wear
get one, go
fitted
get it.
hats, man. That's how I let my brain breathe.
Okay, so here's the
What
first
brain?
legit question.
Here we go. We got
Ronnie, take this one. Is the shad spawn happening?
Yes.
Yes.
So the shad spawn's happening. So you got. Let's talk shad spawn for just a minute. And I'm gonna tell you this. I hate that we're talking shad spawn, Billy. I want to go ahead and throw that out there.
Because you're on the front edge of it and you don't want to let everybody know.
Well, no, the reason is because everybody knows now, including this little goober. And so I drive around the lake all day looking for a place to fish. And it ain't nothing but all these
Take
guys
another.
that are like under 35 years old. You're like, ain't nobody over 35 years old on any of the shad spawn spots.
But all those other guys are.
Everybody else is.
Yeah.
So,
You might put that up to under 40 because me and you ain't under 35 anymore.
well,
You're not under 30. You're lying.
So let's talk shad spawn because it's a little bit complicated. So you got two different types of shads that are really making their move. You got gizzard shad, which are your larger profile shad. Then you got your threadfin shad, which are your smaller shad. So I'm going to talk about a theory that I have, and this is a theory that I came up with a long time ago. I think what happens, and comment if you can't hear me good, if I need to scoot up or something, but when the gizzard shad start to really make their push, gizzard shad aren't all really, really big. They're no different than any other, bait fish or fish for that matter. They start out small and grow. But what I think happens early in the year when the water starts to get up into the low 60s, you start to see these nomadic schools of bass that are your large bass, and anywhere from that 4 to any size range bass. And they get in these schools, and I think what they do is they try to separate these bigger gizzard shad. These gizzard shad that maybe
So they're like cutting horses.
yeah, or like killer whales when they get a seal up on an ice deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we see them run them up on these points, these flat, really hard,
That's a good analogy.
rocky. Everybody. From,
Shell beds.
well, you got all these guys. Do we have to take a shot? Is this last time we played the game? Taking shots and we said shell bed. I got alcohol poisoning in 9 minutes. That was when you had that tall, goofy sucker on here.
Yeah, he likes the shell beds.
So, a lot of people get in the boat and they're like, hey, is that rock? And we get on these parking lot type spots. These are actually underwater parking lots. There used to be restaurants and stuff. No, it feels like concrete up there. And you're
We're
dragging.
from a reef
land
to a
this
parking
plane.
lot.
Land the-
We went
it's a-
from a reef to a
Folks,
parking lot.
it's a hard spot. It's a hard, windy.
So they push these big shad, these big large gizzard shad up on these flat areas, similar to like when you see killer whales push the seals up there and they ambush them. So there's one shad spawn, and then the other shad spawn, which we all kind of refer to when we start talking about
That's what everybody
bills,
knows. Yeah.
little
swim baits,
underspins,
little top waters.
that sort of stuff. You're starting to get into the threadfin shad. Those will start to really move up there. Really now this year.
Well, then
last
there's
year,
a difference because the gizzard shad deal, the bass actually push those gizzards up onto those
Exactly.
shallow points, and the threadfin get up on these hard banks all by themselves and start flipping around.
Well, and not only on
and
the hard
then the
banks.
bass key in or the grass too.
Yeah.
But the threadfin comes to the surface on their own, start flipping around, and then the bass take advantage of them. Where the bass actually push them onto the
Yeah. And so, and when we're talking to gizzard shad, we're really talking a really good ambush. We're looking at a nomadic school of large bass that separates these big gizzard shad, and you'll see them jumping. You might only see one shad and 3 or 4 bass. Key at that moment is to get your bait up there right then. Now, we talk threadfin shad spawn. That's everywhere on the lake. That's from the muddiest creeks to the deepest, clearest creeks, and they can spawn anywhere. They spawn on docks. They spawn on floating logs. They spawn on stumps, grass, anything you can think of, any surface they can get around. They spawn. And when you start to see your birds lined up, windy points, not windy points, anytime you see those birds, especially when there's a little bit of wind blowing in, and those shad really start to group up, you're going to want to start to concentrate on that, because in that water, the mornings that you're getting out there and the water's up too close to 70 degrees, you're going to really see a good push on the threadfin
Yeah,
shad.
you think that deal will calm down this week with this? Because
Yeah,
we got some lows this week in like 38, 40. Like we got some cold nights.
Yeah, it will. You won't stop seeing the spontaneous gizzard shad. The
'Cause
bass
that-
won't abandon it completely.
Because that deal happens off and on throughout the day.
Yeah, and so when you're looking for the gizzard shad, you're going to have a really good shad spawn on a lot of those really good spots. Those shad, the threadfin are still going to spawn there. So your fish are relating to that. And a lot of times, those bass will get up early and feed and they'll kind of back up. Brandon Palin won Rayburn a few years ago using that, getting up there, and he was throwing a big topwater early, and then he would back up and fish. And you just got to kind of, you guys, when you're fishing this stuff, you got to assume these bass get up there. They have a really good window where they're going to feed on threadfin, and that's right. And this is just your general population of pre and post spawn fish. The schools that I think tend to group up on the gizzard shad are kind of, I believe in theory, these are nomadic schools, and this is just kind of what they do, because I've caught them as early as February and I've caught them as late as July.
Yeah.
Up on these points or out deep, suspended. But
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be just the shad spawn deal to get
Exactly.
the little random gizzard shad bite going. That can be, that windblown point deal. it's any time the fish are really related
Right.
to shallow water, they can kind of.
And then again, when we start talking about shad spawn, man, you got to get into all kinds of different bait, buzz baits, frogs. There's so many things.
Man, there's a lot of ways.
Depending on where the shad are spawning.
I spend a lot of time just because I like throwing them, and they're really easy for customers. So I spend a lot of time with swim baits during shad spawn on both. I'll throw the big swim baits, big line throughs, and even sometimes the big weedless if the area is stumpy enough. On the big gizzard shad spawn, but dude, I love like the little hollow belly, the little divine swim bait on a little underspin head. Like I love throwing swim baits in the shad spawn because with a swim bait, it's just so easy to fish. You throw it out there, you point at it, and you reel, and then they jump on it, and you jerk back. Like it's with customer, and you know this, guiding and fishing are completely different.
Yeah.
Like when you're guiding, you don't know the skill level of the guy that's going to be in your boat from day to day to day. Some guys can go out there and walk a topwater. You get some guys that can't walk a spook.
Yep.
So if you're catching them on big spooks, well, man, there's some days where you just gotta throw that swim bait because you can't. So I lean on swim baits a lot around the shad spawn, but dude, there is like so many different ways to do it.
So many different ways. A frog's a great buzz bait. I've caught a lot of fish.
I mean, like I said, a square bill. Brandon Cobb showed us last year in May a jerk bait. A jerk
That guy you're
bait.
gonna fish with tomorrow. Me and him whacked him on a jerk bait.
He told me that.
By accident, I just had it tied on, and we weren't actually going to do that. We pulled up, and there was an opportunity, and all I had was a chatterbait and a jerkbait, and I handed him the chatterbait, and I picked up the jerkbait. We caught a bunch of fish on it. But anything that's shad imitation, and again, when you think you're seeing the shad spawn, you're gonna see just shad flickering, and if you see that early in the morning, it really doesn't matter. If you're in a calm area, fish something a little bit more calm. I'll tell you what I caught him on the other day pretty good was just taking a fluke on a light belly weighted hook and fishing it like a jerkbait through the grass. We caught some really nice fish doing
Yeah,
that.
nice. Well, there you go, guys. That's the deal. And the birds are the key deal. Like the
Birds the word.
Like
Yeah,
if you're inexperienced in the shad spawn, you're wanting to learn the shad spawn, you want to try and figure it out and dial it in. The birds are the biggest thing because if you see like more than one heron lined up on a bank or a point, a blue heron, there's a shad spawn going down first thing in the morning. If that's what you see. Especially if you see 3 or 4 of them, it's going down for real, as the song says. And then also, if you see some of these loons pull up on some of these shallow areas, man, if them loons pull up and they stay right there and they kind of stay in that area for a minute, there's some gizzard shad there. I've never pulled up on a point and seen multiple loons go there and stay there and not get bit. You're gonna get
I
at least
have.
a
So
bite.
I think that's a tricky deal. I think.
Do you? Tell me.
Yeah, I do. Because I spent a lot of time doing this.
And you spent more time doing the loon deal than I
Than
have.
anybody on the lake.
Anybody
Hands
on the-
down, anybody on the lake, other than Mark Pack, not even close. Mark Pack brought this deal to light.
Yeah.
There was
You're right.
There was a time when I could run from one end of the lake all the way to the other end, all the way to the other end, and never see a boat on a point this time of year. And we've talked about this a lot. And I think the loons are your best. Like you got so many points to look at.
Oh yeah.
You got to have something that says
that's
maybe
Yeah.
either history, you caught them last week or 2 days or whatever, or the loons. And I think the loons are your best bet. Don't get discouraged if you pull up, you don't catch fish or you don't see fish. There's a lot of times when I pull up and I see loons or herrings or white birds and I don't catch anything. And a lot of times they're fishing just like us. You see them looking and going down. And
kind of the deal with the loons is usually if it's not going down, the loon will come over there. He may dive once, he may dive twice, and then he'll kind of move on.
Yeah.
But if that loon or more than one loon comes up there and they're kind of staying there and going down, and you can visibly see them swallowing shad. Like if you see the loon staying there and actively feeding, it's going down.
Because you'll pull up on points, and I pulled up on point the other day. There were 11 loons, and nothing ate anything.
They were just
we never
cruising.
graphed. They stayed right in the flat. We never grabbed anything. We never saw any activity. Never got bit. They never ate anything.
Weren't
They
active.
were looking.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. So that's something you got to pay attention to, But if you're not getting bit on this deal, roll out and go somewhere else.
It is a run and gun deal, right? Like,
it is a run and gun
you
deal.
have to. It's one of those things. If it's there and it's happening, it doesn't take any time at all to figure it out. They tell you really, really fast. So by all means, if you pull up there and it ain't. Once you get to this time of year when the water's this one, we get to April, May, June even. If it doesn't happen quick, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And just keep running until you find one.
And I'll tell you something. A really good follow-up bait, or what I it's kind of a bait that tells
the
on.
frog's the follow-up bait.
The
Frogs.
frog.
Oh, sorry. A different
That
thing.
is-
We talking about different thing?
But I throw a Carolina rig and anywhere from 3/8 ounce to 1 ounce, but it's a good tattletale bait. It kind of will tell on some of these fish if they're up there, they're not quite as active and that sort of deal. And I'll tell you something else. I've been throwing a stroker crawl on a Carolina rig and catch some fish.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I've been
And
doing that too.
if you think about it, it's got the legs
A little bit like a
yeah,
baby brush
and
hog.
it's just real buoyant. It's got a
That's
lot
the
of
main deal with
really
it.
really Nice.
It's got a good wide body, helps it glide
It's
around.
got a good movement. Yeah.
I like it. Throwing a stroker crawl in the Carolina rig. The stroker crawl is a phenomenal bait. 6 cents. And one thing we do got to mention, we all work with 6 cents, so we would be remiss to not mention that 6 cents has a huge 25% off all their plastics right now.
Yeah.
So go over to 6centsfishing.com, check out that plastic sale. It's unbelievable.
The stroker crawl, and then I would also get the clout right now.
The clout, the
For sure,
stroker
get the
crawl,
clout.
and that divine swim bait. I gotta throw that in there because I like
Yeah.
throwing that little swim
Yeah,
bait so much. That
I
divine
have
swim
been.
bait.
The problem is I've got like a big freaking bag of skinny dippers, and I'm trying to get rid of them.
You trying to burn through those?
I'm trying to burn through those and stuff. But
Well,
yeah,
hey,
no,
that divine
it's-
swim bait's getting
it's
it just
definitely-
fine. It's a
yeah,
very,
yeah.
very good swim bait. So, all right, well, let's move on from the shad spawn and see if we can find something else. Well, guys,
Never talk
do
about
me a favor and drop some likes. Let's get a lot of people in here. Keep commenting, keep bringing your questions, and drop some likes on here so we can get more people watching this deal. By the way, this is officially our biggest live seminar we've ever done at this point because normally we can't fit this many people on Lake Fork Marina, so this is cool. Okay, question for you. I can't afford both right now, but if you had to choose, would you rather invest in power poles or a spot locking trolling motor for everyday fishing?
This time of year, probably.
Well,
spot lock.
no. This is a permanent decision. You got a guy that can only afford one. If you can only have one, spot lock or power poles, what's it going to be?
Spot lock.
Spot lock. All the way.
No,
Spot
no
lock.
question.
Spot lock, because
Spot lock.
you can get by in shallow water with a spot
If
lock
it's on low.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, most of the time there's going to be some noise, but one thing you can't do is you cannot power pole down in 20 foot of water.
No.
So you need
Or
to
7.
or 7.
We're 7.
Or 10 or
We're
whatever.
10.
Yeah. So exactly. So we're unanimous on that. I would, if I had to choose one, but for me, if you can't afford it, I want power poles too. Like
Yeah.
I want the silence factor. If I'm being honest, I want the ease of docking at the boat dock and getting in and out of the ramp.
That's-
Bust one.
yeah, that's
Bust
true.
one on a frog. You want to, pin her down. Try to
Yeah,
push her
and in
down.
that shallow water, if I can keep from it, I don't want my trolling motor cutting
Sure.
up grass and making noise. And so, yeah, I want both, but if I only have one, yeah, we're all unanimous on that deal.
Yeah.
All right. Man, there's a lot of questions coming in now. J-Bow, one I have is what has been the biggest adjustment for you from fishing broken bow and your adjustments to fishing fork? What are the similarities? What are the differences? So you came from broken bow. For those that don't know, Jonathan Bowling was a guide on broken bow for a few years
Yeah.
and just moved to fork. This is his first year on fork. So what have been the biggest adjustments and what have been the biggest similarities?
That's a tough one. It's really.
It's a big
It
question.
hasn't been that hard. The main thing is finding, because I'm used to like fishing water that's literally so deep.
Yeah.
Like most of our stuff is like the top of a hump is like 30 foot.
Yeah.
We're down here, the top of it might be like 6 or 7. Other than that, it really hasn't been that hard.
You just had to scale up on the depth you're adjusting
Yeah.
to. I mean, I know there's a lot more vegetation and stuff like that here. Than there
Yeah,
was at
that's
Broken Bow,
something. I mean, dude, all we have back home is literally rock and wood.
So you had to probably
That's it.
change a lot of your gear.
Yeah, I had to
You
change a lot of my
Had
gear.
to change. You go to bigger line, bigger rods, maybe a few more braid rods.
Honestly, the rods and the line, if it changed, it didn't change much.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't like to throw that light line and all that
You
stuff.
like- yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's one thing that I just don't like doing.
So fishing's fishing, and you just kind of catch them up. That's a terrible answer.
I mean,
That's like
it
a
is what it
terrible
is. Okay, here's the
answer.
deal.
You want the complicated pro fisherman answers.
Here's
He's
the
like,
deal.
It's kind of just going fishing.
At that
Yeah,
lake,
we-
people
we
throw
just-
light line, small baits. I don't throw light line. I throw super big line, super big rod, super big baits. That's just how that I roll.
You know what opened my eyes on light line, and I know, and Ronnie, you're a proponent of light line can be a
I just
deal.
called somebody texted me and asked me if I got the Rona.
You have
I'm
the
Rona
Rona.
free, baby, Rona free.
So yeah, he's
I mean,
definitely running
you-
free.
Or, the town you're from, they do have it pretty bad, so I might need to scoot over a little bit.
I hadn't been home in like.
That's not 6
I ain't
feet.
been home.
Yeah, that's not 6 feet, that's like 6
But
inches.
the light line deal, I know you're a proponent of, yeah, it's a big deal sometimes. The thing that kind of opened my eyes on light line was when the Alabama rig got popular. And fish started destroying baits that had metal arms attached to them. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, does line really matter? that
Here's what
much?
I'll
Like
say
the
about
visibility
light line.
line.
Here's what I'll say about light line. I feel like this trumps everything. If the best anglers in the world use light line a lot, then it. And raise your hand if you think you can just get out there and dominate Wheeler and these other guys.
No, we can't.
So
we can't.
that's how I look
Put
at it.
it on
I do
lockout
think
right
there's-
now.
I do think there's times. I think when Justin Atkins shot up to that 10-pounder, that was brilliant. Light line on a spinning rod. He made
That was-
in light line a lot of
that was
times.
good.
Well, and he was fishing in an area of Lake Fork where you can get away with
Exactly.
light line. That was
Yeah,
part of
There
his
were
game
a
plan.
lot of guys.
Yeah.
James Watt. There were a lot of guys that use spinning tackle a lot. And a lot of times, guys, we tend to mistake light line for visibility, and a lot of times it's presentation, castability, casting, wacky worms. I know guys throw weightless smallie beavers on 1/0 hooks for bedding fish and stuff. Trick worms, that sort of deal. Light line can actually help with your casting ability, and that sort of deal. But definitely like lighter line. I don't think that
It's relative too.
it is relative.
And at a
It's
lake,
very relative.
at a lake like Fort, it's very rare that any of us are going to use very light line.
Right.
I mean, you just don't.
You don't need it.
You don't need it. Most of the baits we're fishing are bigger baits,
Right.
More power fishing techniques.
Yeah.
It's heavy cover, big fish, stained water. We just Fort's not a light line type of place. Broken Bow would be a place where you
Broken Bow.
And we're not
It is,
fishing
yeah.
for one bite. I told somebody that the other day. I said we ran over there and we caught a 3-pounder and a 5-pounder. Not that big of a deal, but if we were weekend anglers fishing for me or fishing a tournament, that is a big deal.
That's right.
It's not to us if we run over there and you catch a 5-pounder, you're like, well, that really didn't do anything for my trip.
Yeah.
Or if you get that one to bite on that drop shot, or those 2 or 3 to bite on that drop shot,
Yeah.
at that moment it can be a big deal. But in our business,
It's
and
not.
what we do on a daily basis, that's not what.
No.
We're trying to find more than 1 or 2 fish for our
Speaking
customers.
of the Justin Atkins reference, that day he caught the 10-pounder. He had a really high finish and he had 50 whatever pounds. He only had 9 bites the whole day.
Yeah.
He caught 9 fish all day, so he was really targeting
And he
those
only used
individual bites.
He only used that spinning rod for about half the fish.
That's true.
He threw a bait caster a lot.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, he sight fished a lot with it.
And let me tell you guys something. It doesn't make any sense for a man to go and try to take something apart and use the biggest Phillips head screwdriver if he's got the smallest Phillips head screw right there.
Exactly.
He needs to get the tool that's appropriate for it. And that's all a spinning rod is to me, is just a tool for light baits.
There we go. We dropped a few more likes. We got a few more members. Y'all keep hitting that like button for us. Let's get back to some questions. That's your,
Hey, rocking that WM, baby.
okay, another question from Big C. Y'all on, this is a little bit, he wants to hear from all of us on how you each transition from spawn to post-spawn fishing and how your technique/areas change from one to the other, and what are the signs and conditions that make that. That's a big question.
That's a big question
That's
to
a big
answer.
question. So,
Calvin, leave people alone.
Leave us
What the hell
alone,
are
dude.
you doing,
We are
man?
gods. We can't answer
Go
that
worry
crap.
about Corona or something.
So I'll take this one on first, because this is a huge question. So
That's a big
what was it?
question.
How do we transition from spawn to post spawn, and what are the different areas, and what are the signs? So for me, the signs are pretty simple. When I start seeing, I sight fish a lot, and I probably sight fish longer than most. So when I start to see the brim start spawning around the areas where I've been sight fishing, for me that's kind of the clue that okay, it's post spawn is really starting to get going.
Yeah.
There's going to be some fish that are going to hang around and pick on these brim off these beds. There's also going to be some really good sized
I hate
schools.
coughing, man.
You hate coughing. There's also going to be some really good sized schools at that time that are going to be making their way up to.
You're welcome.
Here we go. Here we go.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Making their way out offshore. Now, one thing I will say.
Been a long time.
Come on through, Bubba.
my flipping dog.
Thank you, Ashley.
This is a fluffy dog. The barbershop ain't open. All right. We're off the rails, which is normal for us around here. We're going to try to get back on. So,
Squirrel.
when the brim starts spawning, that's kind of my first clue to really start spending a lot of time offshore and to kind of key in on the post-spawn fish versus I'm starting to fade out. I may still try to pick off a sight fish or two here or there. But also, that being said, I do something that not most people do. What's today? April what? Date?
10th?
10th?
No.
11th? 12th?
12th.
Today's April 12th. So within the next week, I will begin, especially as we get closer to this, like we'll have a new moon coming back up here in a week or so. When we get to that, I will start going and looking offshore. I will spend some part of my day, every day, looking offshore. And I'm not looking for big, massive schools. I'm looking for schools of 3, 4, 5 fish at a time. Because the bottom line is, the truth of the matter is, you may only find a few out there, but if you know how to use your electronics pretty well, and you can find those 3 to 5 fish schools that are there in mid to late April, they all bite. You know what I'm talking about, Ronnie?
Yeah.
Like those fish bite really good if you can start finding them out off the bank, like out at the end of these long points. The first ones, like those fish that were spawning when MLF was here, some of them will start being out there now. And some of them big fish that spawned early will start to gather in real small schools. And I've always been a big fan of trying to be the first one out there way out off the bank, if I could. And I've actually, this year, already seen some boats out there, which is like really weird. And
Yeah.
something you don't normally see. So it tells me there may be some of that going on. But the brim bed keys me in. For me, the areas that I look for are areas that have dense underwater vegetation, coontail and hydrilla. I'll start looking for fish to gather in creek channel bends and such, deeper edges of grass if I can. If that's not available, the other thing that we all kind of fish that's a big deal is super long main lake points. For whatever reason, when they get done spawning, in my experience, those fish tend to get on those really elongated main lake points better than any other structure that I fish. There'll be some that show up on roadbeds and humps and pond dams and whatnot. But I look for that. And then the other thing I do is the brim spawn. The brim spawn's a really good bite. It's really simple fishing. You just kind of go around flipping standing timber and fishing standing timber out around in front of the brim beds, and you can catch some really nice fish doing that. So that's my whole post spawn transition breakdown.
I think I'm pretty similar to that. I definitely think there's thousands of fish way offshore already and already fed way up. I think, in my theory, by the time that first wave moves up, that we see and we catch, there's already been a decent wave that we completely missed.
Yeah.
And those early buzzbait frogfish that we catch in late February, I think they're trying to get up there and spawn a little bit cooler with water and that sort of deal. But you got so many transitions there. Are you wanting to fish offshore or are you wanting to fish shallow?
So one thing that's really true about, which May is kind of typically when this starts to really go down, and one thing that's really true about May is you can catch them however you want to.
Yeah, you can. And so for me, I like to fish offshore. So I started looking. So I've already been fishing offshore, catching fish offshore. My approach to offshore is similar to what Billy said. So the statement about when you find them early, they're easy to catch. Yeah, that's true. The problem that we have now, this is something that we all as anglers have to deal with, is pressure and electronics have changed that
Oh, yeah.
in a little bit. So you pull up to these schools, 6, 7, 8 fish, and I've got one right now, and they're freaking bigs, and but they're really hard to catch, and I like to catch them with a crankbait. The C15 or C20 right now is, and chartreuse blueback is my favorite deep water bait right now. And the reason is a lot of these fish can either be in a negative mood, they can have already been caught. I mean, there's a good chance you pull up to school 7 fish, they've already been stuck.
Yeah.
I mean,
A
you
lot.
got side imaging, I got side imaging. Our boats are recognizable. Every other guided, we're on the
And
most
the
guided.
lake's been really crowded lately.
The lake's been really crowded, so you gotta kind of weigh that in. And I'm bringing that up because I've dealt with it over the last 2 weeks over a particular school that I caught last year, and I competed with another guide for him last year.
I know exactly what
And
you're talking about.
I caught him really good all the way to July, and I've started actually. What we get to do is a little.
Now you're going to compete with one other guy because I know where he's talking about.
We all have a unique deal because we're following these fish. So we're catching these fish on chatterbait, jerkbait. Then we're catching them on like not skinny water, but like Cinco style bait, the clout bait, the
Weightless
weightless plastics.
Yeah.
And then we're sight fishing for them. And then we're catching them again on plastics or that
Top
sort of
water,
deal. And
maybe.
then we're backed out. We're catching them on top water on points, and then we're following them back. So we're kind of watching these fish move and kind of adjust and go. You take a spawning pocket like Bell or something like that. You catch them pre-spawn, and you catch them back
Yeah,
in there,
follow 'em back out.
and then you follow them back out. So that's kind of how I transition with it. My goal is like Billy to be the first on it, but I like to be really early. I like to be the guy catching buzzbait fish and frogfish in February. I like to be the guy catching them on deep cranks in March.
There's something about staying in front of the fish, and if you're the first one on a bite, well, that bite, it's just easier to get those fish to bite. Like if you're the first one to find that frog in
Absolutely.
February, then
Absolutely.
they're going to bite it better than they will once they got 37 frogs over their head every day.
Or it's just something a little different. And with that, and that's good. We've talked about this before, but when you're doing something a little bit different, buzzbaits are great. Everybody's throwing buzzbait now,
Yeah.
but they weren't
Yeah.
3 weeks ago.
No,
A
not at
buzzbait's
all.
a great bait to get a big one to react to.
Well, you talk about just doing something
Yeah.
a little different. Despite what you may hear through the rumor mill, nobody was throwing jerk baits on shallow points in May on Lake Fork.
No,
Brandon
never.
Cobb showed up, did something a little bit different, and won an Elite Series
Yeah,
event because he was the first one to go out there and start throwing. And then other guys in the tournament picked up on it and started throwing it too, and they did well. But until that tournament happened last year, people just didn't really throw. It wasn't a
And
common
I don't
thing.
think you have to throw the jerkbait up there,
No, you don't have to throw.
but it's definitely unique.
At that time, it was something that was different. It was a little bit different. It kind of looked like a shad. Those fish didn't see it all the time. And boy, when he showed up and did it, he whooped on them, man.
Yeah.
So doing something different can be a big deal. John, this is going to be your first time being here every day through the post-spawn transition. Do you have anything you want to throw in there?
This is the time of year though that literally I love because I don't.
I know you're an offshore guy.
I don't like.
You're an electronics guy.
Yeah,
Offshore guy.
I do not like to fish super shallow. I don't like it. But I've started taking about the best way that I know how to do it is about the last week of March. I'll take at least 30 minutes and I will go look. I'll go out, I'll look on humps, points, ledges, all that stuff. If I don't see them, then I'm gone. But what I started doing is I found my first offshore fish about a week ago. Got on the bite, and the two that we caught were like, they were big. So now what I'm doing is, I'm going to be fishing offshore now from like literally probably this past week and on.
Yeah.
Just because I'm only finding 5 fish schools, 6 fish schools.
That's a school out here.
Yeah, but now I found one the other day. I counted 16 that was down there. We caught like 9 of them in like 10 casts. I would rather do that than, now I've been shallow now, for like a month though. But
Right.
if I could pick something to do right now is go spend your time and go look out deep.
Vance Miller asks, offshore as in 20 plus feet deep. No.
No.
The depth is, especially on Lake Fork, it's a relatively flat lake. We do have some
My
content.
offshore I'm doing right now is anywhere from 12 to like 18
Yeah.
foot.
And, bro, there's times, like I know one of the spots that, maybe the spot you were talking about, there's times when we were fishing the top side of that thing last year, a couple times we hit it together, and it was in like, some of it was in like 6 foot. But it was way out off the bank. So the 20 foot of depth, it doesn't have to be 20 foot deep.
You don't have a clue, do you? You don't have a clue?
Yeah, you do.
I know.
You know exactly what I'm
I
talking
swear
about.
to God, I don't.
There's
Okay.
one spot that I'm.
Well, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say your spot on
Not even
the
saying
live deal because it's your spot. But anyway, no, the depth does not have to be 20 feet, especially
No,
on
not
Lake
at all.
Fork. It can be 8 feet, it can be 12, it can be 20, it can be 30. One thing about it is, here's the deal: until the thermocline sets in, which is usually later on in June, sometimes July, before the thermocline sets in, those bass can be as deep as they want to be.
Yeah.
I actually in May have had several times where the deepest I'll fish the whole year is in May, and we might be fishing 30 foot deep on the end of a long point, but there might be another school, a different part of the lake that's in 8 or 10 foot.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they can be, that's one thing about it right now, like as you get into post spawn, you really got to graph the whole structure, because they can kind of use any part of it they want to use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then one of the things to narrow it down is find a common depth. If you, especially if you're a hummingbird guy, and you do find, man, I catch most of my fish 12 to 16 foot of water.
Then
You
they'll-
adjust your range on your graph, and you kind of, because it can be
Yeah.
overwhelming.
You can adjust that on these now too.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So it can be overwhelming, and you tell a guy, hey, anywhere from 6 to 30 foot of water. Well, that's 90% of the lake.
I know.
So you got to narrow it down. And,
Yeah,
and
you do.
like for us, if you go out and you catch them and you're like, hey, dude, I'm busting these fish in 18 to 20. Well, then that gives us an idea. We need to start kind of looking on these points and that sort of deal. So, but yeah, dude, you could be catching them offshore in the middle of the day in May on top water.
Yeah.
And the top of the hump's 2 foot of water.
That's true.
And you're 100 yards from the bank.
Well, and something that me and you, that's what I say about May, is like you can kind of do it however you want to. Like me and you have both had this experience. I think we may have had this experience together, but we are both we talked about it. We're notorious for, we may start out our first spot in the morning, we may be
Sure.
fishing 25 to 30 feet of water,
Right.
and then catch them on that spot, pick up and haul halfway across the lake and go fish 3 foot of water in
Right.
the back of a creek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many different things, and if you can just find enough of those different areas that are holding quality fish, you can kind of start. You don't have to wait for bites in May. You just, if they're not biting, you pick up and move, because there's plenty of other things to go do.
Yeah.
And you can do it. And I think it's the guys that do the best in May, that are the most consistent day in, day out, are the guys that are the most versatile, because there's so many different ways to skin the cat.
Yeah.
So the more things you can get going your way, the better you'll do. Randy is drooling over this live.
Do what?
Leonard S says, will the same top 5 baits you use on Lake Fork work on Lake Athens? We do our top 5 baits live stream every Thursday night. And you know what? Most of the time on Lake Athens and Lake Fork, they do tend to pattern pretty similar.
Very, very similar.
Pretty similar. So a lot of the time they will work on Lake Athens as well. What month of the year is the best time for crankbaits, Ronnie?
That's all. That's right up your alley, dude.
I mean,
May and June.
crankbaits is a
May,
big question
May
because
and
I mean,
June.
obviously crankbaits can be all different type of crankbaits.
Man, really? Okay, so
May and June, I would agree with
I would assume you're talking deep crank. I would say from mid-April to the second week of June. That's your prime time. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for deep cranking, yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
that's
Or even
what
square
I'm
billing,
doing
honestly.
now, so.
Even square billing. Like, when,
Yeah.
when you start getting a lot more fish being post-spawn, that's when even the square bills down to the deep diving crankbaits all tend to shine. I agree with that. I'll tell you one thing I like. It's a good pattern on forecast bait for me in the past is taking a brim color, bluegill color type of square bill and just finding wind-blown banks where there's been spawning bass. When I start seeing those brim beds and I'm like, okay, the brim are starting to spawn, so we're getting post-spawn, I'll just go down areas where I know there's been brim spawning or bass spawning and give me a little bluegill color crankbait and just go to hitting windy stretches. I mean, just cover water.
Right.
I mean, I've caught some dogs doing that.
In fact, probably this afternoon, I'm gonna get all my crank rods and topwater rods out and respool everything.
It's a really good question for right now.
Same for me.
Thoughts on this cold front coming up and fishing it?
I think it freaking sucks. And fishing's gonna not be as good, and it's gonna be cold. Y'all's thoughts?
For what I'm doing now, since I'm fishing out offshore, I don't think it's gonna make it as bad as the guys that are all on the banks do.
See, man, I don't know. Like, I spend
Personally speaking.
right now, I'm spending so much time bed fishing. Sometimes when you get those cold fronts, it can make those bed fish not lock in as good. Get
Yeah.
a little more skittish on the bed. But for the most part, unless that water starts dropping down to like 60 or below, which the water tip's not going to drop that much.
No, it's not gonna drop that
It's
much.
not even close to it. So for me, sight fishing, they're still going to be on beds. Like those fish that are on beds right now aren't leaving because it's 64, not 69.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
don't
don't-
leave.
So the question was, how's it gonna affect them negatively?
Negative.
It's
Yeah.
not gonna positively influence them.
It's not going to pod, but I don't think it's like a.
Well, it's not
It's going
because
to
it's
suck
April.
deal. Yeah.
It's gonna be
It's just-
more tough, but it's not gonna like make it suck. I don't think.
Well, and the beauty of Lake Fork is, are we going to get less bites? Will it take us longer to catch these bed fish? Will it be harder to catch the fish that aren't bed fish? The shad spawn deal will probably go away, fade a little bit. Yeah, it'll be tougher to
Yeah.
get bites. Good thing about Lake Fork is, it don't always take very many bites to have a real good day.
Right.
No,
You know, we can still go catch, we might go catch 6 to 8 fish off beds all day, but if 5 of them weigh 30-something pounds, who cares?
Yeah.
No, everybody's happy with that. So that is one beauty about guiding and fishing Lake Fork is you cannot get very many bites and still have a really, really good, memorable day.
Yeah, I mean that's like so far this year. The best day that I've had so far down here, we caught 6 fish all day, but they were all huge. Like I mean, and it was tough too. Like that morning it was like 48 degrees.
Captain Ron making comments in here. Colton Doc, should you change your braid? This is from Colton Doc. He's a regular viewer of the
Yeah, I saw
channel.
that.
Should you change your braid when it loses the color or just Sharpie it? Does the color change mean a weakened braid?
No, so
No.
the dye in the spectrum will come and go based on the sun. Now, one thing I will tell you about braid, when it starts to fray, that's when you change it. You fishing a frog, swim jig, anything like that, you're making a lot of long casts. Your guide's putting a lot, guides aren't really designed for braid. They're designed for a
No.
lot smoother surface, you
Yeah.
know. So braid
Cut
over
grooves.
time can kind of,
Make a groove in a guy.
well, not only that, but the braid will flare. It'll just like
Yeah.
nappy dreadlocks. And you start getting them nappy dreadlocks on the
It's
braid.
time to re-braid them.
But I'll tell you a trick.
Whether you see frays in your braids or your braid, it's time to re-braid it.
It's time to re-braid. One quick tip on braid. Take your other braid reel, whatever reel that you need to put new line on, take that old line and just back spool it. All that line that's on the bottom of the spool is bright green and ready to go.
It's all fresh.
Yep, turn it around, put it right back on.
I do that literally with just about every pole that I own.
I do it when it starts fraying, I flip it.
Yeah.
And then we keep rolling.
That's good. As far as the Sharpie in it deal, I used to do that. I don't do it, and here's the reason why I don't do it is they're gonna see that braid no matter what color it is. Like,
Exactly.
they're kind of gonna see that braid no matter what color. I don't think the visibility. Like if you're worried about fish seeing your line, you shouldn't be fishing braid.
Right.
Well,
That-
see, and
that's
it's
why.
like that, and then you see guys using braid that's literally pink, lime green, all this other stuff.
If you're worried about visibility, you should be fishing something besides braid.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Exactly.
All right. Do brim beds look the same as bass? Absolutely not. Brim beds look like a bunch of moon craters. Like a bass will be like one round spot. In a bass bed, you can't even always see the crater.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have a bass sitting on a bald spot, and you're like, oh, there's nothing there, but he's on a bed. With brim, there will be visible craters. There will be a bunch of them together. It won't
Yeah.
just be one bed. It'll be like crater, 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 and it may be 10, and it may be 50. Like it just depends on how big that little school of brim is that's watered up spawning there. So that's kind of brim beds. The best thing I can tell you is they just look like a bunch of moon
And
craters.
the best way to know if they're brim beds is take a power worm and pitch it out there, and if you feel
With that chartreuse
Yeah,
tail on.
yeah.
Or cricket. After one female bass leaves her bed, does another one use that same bed?
That's
Not-
that's a real
In my
good
experience, looking at bedfish every day, not with the same male there. Now, I have seen over time, because we have different waves of spawning bass, so I have seen a male gets on a bed, he gets a female, they end up leaving a week later or whatever, 2 weeks, whatever it may be, and then after that, a new fish shows up on that bed, and then he gets a new female. So I've seen pairs use the same bed after the other pair is gone, but I've never seen a case where I have one male that had two different females come to that bed over time. I've never personally witnessed that.
I don't think
I
I've
don't
ever
pay
witnessed it.
attention.
And I look every day.
You don't even like to.
No.
This subject is for us two. That's not even for you.
Son, I done caught more bedfish in a month than you will in your life. I just don't like to do it.
You just don't like to do it. Trust me, I don't. But if they're up there, that's what I'll go do.
He loves
I
it.
bet
Don't
fish-
let him lie to you.
I bedfished a lot more this year than I did last year. My nephew, on
It's
the
fun.
other hand,
I just don't like
my
it.
nephew, on the other hand, is like Hoover. This sucker's sucking them up all over the place. Don't let this son go and find out where the bedfish are at. He took a coronication to Lake Fork and got half the thing. Bedfish in Little Cane.
Big C asked me, how is my new rain gear working out? My Striker, see, the suit I've got is called the Adrenaline Suit by
I was gonna
Striker.
ask you about that.
That thing is amazing. I've definitely had it in the rain all day. It's hard for me to film a video of that suit in the rain because it's hard. You can't film in the rain without tearing your camera gear.
Sure.
No mics, no
Yeah.
nothing. Audio's terrible. So I haven't been able to film anything in the rain for you guys yet. But I can vouch for it personally. I've stood out in an all-day drizzly rain. We've had plenty of that lately, and it did wonderful. It's the best rain suit I've ever owned, hands down. So I'm really happy with that Striker rain suit. Ronnie, what transducer are you using for down imaging, side scan, and 2D?
Whatever one they put them up.
The one that comes with the hummingbirds?
Whatever
Hey,
one
don't
for the
get too
hummingbird.
technical. I can look and find fish. That's about it. And I can set your graphs up
Like,
where they're perfectly
We
clear.
can dial the images. We're the same
Yeah,
way.
I ain't.
I can fiddle with the Lowrance, and he does hummingbirds the same way I do Lowrance.
Yeah.
I can fiddle with the settings, and I can get that thing to looking good where you can see real clear. In fact, we both posted many awesome images of fish on our social media stuff over the years, and we'll post more this summer as we get into that time. And so we can get them dialed in. But if you want to tell me like what transducer are you using, how the technical functionality, I'm like, bro.
Call Nautical Mile.
Talk that
Talk to
thing
Andrew.
is, I can tell you the exact transducer I got, how it's wired and everything because I did it all myself.
Because he's a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's a nerd. Nerds are the only ones that know what transducer they're using, for the record.
Mine is
I
the
don't-
Lowrance 3-in-1 transducer.
Nerd.
My deal is, if it messes up, it ain't my fault.
Yeah, that's what it's under warranty.
It's under warranty.
It's under warranty. Nautical Mile. 1-800 dial Nautical
And I
Mile.
know a lot, like you'll see a lot of
1-800
elite
Nautical
pros that
Mile.
are in there putting their own stuff in, I'm out.
Yeah.
That ain't my style.
Joe Don wants to know about these new glasses.
They're
I can't-
What
sweet
does
and I
Joe
need
want?
some.
What does he want to know?
I can't tell you about them
They're
yet.
sweet and I need some of them.
I can't tell you about them yet. As soon as I can, I will. That's top secret.
I got some, JD.
top secret
They're
guide
nice.
stuff. Oh, Randy Swindoll is making a. Here we go. I've noticed with these bedfish, at least the first round of males, a lot of the beds they have made are way too shallow now after the lake has gone back down. Do they just end up making another bed? So they made
Coronavirus!
they made a bed and then the water level dropped and
Yep.
they'll stay on that bed as long as they can, and sometimes it pulls them off of it, and yeah, they do end up going
Yes.
to another bed. If it pulls them off, they end up going to another
I
bed.
think they make.
Now,
I mean, I don't know. Do the males gonna make another bed? You know what, Randy? I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't actually know.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I assume
they do.
I assume they do.
I know that they pull off.
I will say this: I've seen them. They try to stay as long as they can, because I've seen
Yeah.
some this year as the water drops, where their fins are really
Yeah.
sticking out of the water when they're
Yeah.
on their bed, and they're still locked into
Yeah.
it. But so they try to stay as best they can, but when that water keeps dropping, it definitely pulls them off. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I assume they go make
I
another
think
bed.
the females, So there, here's the deal. We don't know. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff. I'll tell you this: if you read stuff from Parks and Wildlife, they have awesome facilities and they watch these fish. There's still so many things unknown about spawning fish.
Yeah.
We don't put the resources and time and effort into studying the way that they would other things.
We just know that some are locked in a bite and some don't.
The ones that's all, and that man, you get complicated on stuff like that. I love Todd Castledown, and I remember one time he goes, I think this is just stuff that people have just been saying for years.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I don't know. Like that water drops. Does that male make another bed? I don't know.
Yeah.
I assume that female has to get rid of them eggs. You hear people go, they absorb the eggs. I've never seen a woman absorb a baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, she may poop them out over open water or something.
She may do that baby out in the toilet and flush it, but like, I don't know. That's what my brother used to tell me.
Good
When I was a kid, my brother.
Lord.
We just need to cut the live off right now.
My brother would say my mom had a stomach ache, went to the bathroom and pooped, and I fell out. That's how I was born. But I don't. That's a good question.
That makes
Randy.
a lot of sense with you, though.
Yeah.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I really got to work on my list of
They
friends.
call me
I'm about to have
Tola
to.
Bo Kelly, but no, I don't know. That's a question. Another
I'm
question
gonna
for
change
Violet.
your name in my phone to freaking Toilet Bowl Kelly.
So now the one guy needs to call Andrew Boaz, and Randy needs to call Dave Terry at Parks and Wildlife.
This is a good one. I saw this one a minute ago, and I wanted to get into this because I've used Lowrance forever and always, and you've recently gone and used Hummingbirds for the last couple of years. So you've had a couple of years of Hummingbird experience. Somebody asked us Hummingbird, Lowrance, Garmin, and why? Which one and why?
To me, it's a lot like Chevrolet and Ford. If you like it, then you
I
try
agree.
it.
I agree.
If you
I
like
think
it,
there's
run it.
strengths and weaknesses to each. Obviously, with Garmin, they've got this live scope thing.
Yeah.
It hasn't
Pan optics.
Yeah.
It hasn't really been like practical, apt for bass fishing on a big scale. Like there's not just a ton of bass fishermen
That we know of.
using it success. Yeah,
Except we do know one of them.
Well, we don't know how many guys on tour aren't talking about it.
Exactly.
I heard someone go, "Why the hell would I tell anybody about this?"
Yeah.
Like one of the MLF pros.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who it was, but I heard him telling somebody that.
yeah. Because
I know
the
you're
truth
talking
of the
about it,
matter is
yeah,
with Garmin, there is something going on with Garmin where Garmin is a huge company, and
Yeah.
the bass fishing product line that they sell at Garmin is like such a small percentage of that company
Right.
Yeah.
that they don't put the marketing and research and sponsor dollars behind marketing that product. So they're not going after a lot of these guys and telling them, hey, we want you to use our graphs and we'll pay you so much to talk about it, because it's just not a big part of their company. Whereas Lowrance is like, they're paying everybody to talk, and so is Hummingbird. And
I think
Yeah.
they're real similar to Hummingbird when side imaging came out. We're not going to pay you because you need us more than we need you.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Everybody's
Exactly.
got Pan optics now.
Yeah, they've developed
The
a
tournament
superior-
anglers, we don't have it, but tournament anglers, they all got it. These guys need it. And
As far as, that deal, to me, the problem with Garmin is you got to have a Garmin and something else.
right.
Because the rest of Garmin is just not up to par. Like the sonar and the map, like nothing else about the Garmin is as good as the Lowrance or Hummingbird. So the Panoptics is great. I mean the live scope is great. That's awesome. It's amazing, revolutionary
amazing.
technology. But you have to have it and another unit to do
Yeah.
everything you need to do in bass fishing. Because you got to have good mapping. You got to have good sonar.
And I think we do because we're so used to it. There's a lot of Garmin guys that are running straight Garmins and like them.
Yeah.
I don't know that they like them as much as they're telling.
I think they're unaware of a little bit of the disadvantages that they're carrying, not having a different type
Certainly.
of thing.
I mean, KVD was a disadvantage running Nitro, but he still does it.
Well, that's a whole
Shots
different.
fired.
That's a whole different.
Shots
thing.
fired.
I don't know
But
that he really
seriously,
was. He still had a bass boat that could get him where he needed to go and provide a fishing
Yeah,
platform.
no joke. But
That's a
seriously-
whole different deal than being able to see something better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but there's guys out there that are interpreting Garmins, and
Yeah.
interpretation's all that matters.
It's true.
That's the only thing that matters.
And so when you're talking about now, if we dig into between Lowrance and Hummingbird, they both made a lot of leaps
They're
and
both
bounds.
so good.
They're both so
And they're both really good. And I will say, side imaging on Hummingbird is probably better, but on Lowrance, sonar is clearly better.
Yeah.
And now the mapping on Hummingbird used to be better. Well, now Lowrance has stepped up their mapping. game.
Lowrance's new mapping on their live units.
Lowrance's new mapping is really good, and it does all the same functionalities that Hummingbird does. So it's
I like what he says, Chevy and Ford.
Lowrance and Hummingbird is definitely a Chevy Ford debate. The Garmin's a little bit of a one-off because it's kind of the
Yeah, it is. For
it's
sure.
it's
Yeah.
the live scope, and then I don't know about everything else.
I
so
would be
it's
completely
weird.
comfortable with either the Humminbirds or the Lowrance. I would be completely mind blown if I had Garmin. I wouldn't know, you know.
Yeah.
It'd
I
be
mean, the only thing with me is I've had Lowrance for like 7-8 years now. That's the only reason that's all I have.
For me,
Because that's
for
the
me
only
with
thing that I
and
Lowrance,
it doesn't matter to me.
For me-
I could care less with too much.
for me with
Yeah.
Lowrance, it's there's so much easier functionality, but that's because I've always fished Lowrance.
Right. It's like Apple.
I know where
versus-
every button
versus
is. I know
Android.
exactly what every button does. And the times that I've been in a Humminbird boat, I'm like,
Yeah.
what button do I push to do what? I don't know.
The only thing with bird that I do like is what's that called? It goes around your boat.
proximity rings, and they took them away.
No, it
360 imaging?
Yes.
Oh,
To me, that's cool. To me,
Yeah.
that's really
If they
neat.
could get it where it worked. good.
Which I haven't even. I've got the Lowrance live scope now, like the Lowrance
Live
HDS
sight.
Live, the live sight for
Yeah.
Lowrance. I've got that now, and I've got the boat in the middle of spring. I haven't had a chance to even play with it yet. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have me a forward-facing live image that gets the job done, and all the advantages of having my Lowrance, and I'll be like the hell with all of them.
But you know the Panoptics deal. So what I don't think most people realize about like Josh Jones is he had the first gen of Panoptics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
When it was sonar, not imaging.
Exactly. So now he's transitioned over, and all it is again, it's interpretation. It's what is that, you know, and he sees it.
Well, the deal with live sight, like the actual new live sight, which is what it is down imaging, looking forward, and giving you live feedback.
It's just so much.
Yeah.
Bro, there's no interpretation left with that live sight.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about fish. What is that? That's an 8-pounder.
Like,
Like this
dude,
guy's like that's a
he's-
double digit.
He's
There's
taking
not
these
much, like,
rigs and he's going, that's an
it's-
8-pounder, that's a 10, and he's casting. to the
Anybody that
fish.
has some fishing experience and some knowledge and some experience looking at electronics, there's not much to interpret on that light. Like you can.
Yeah.
The first time I got in a boat with a customer that had one, and he told me to turn it on and mess with it, I turned it on and I was like, I looked out there at the tree and saw a couple fish. I'm like, well, they're not very big, but there's fish right there on that tree. And now I threw a dang Texas rig worm out there offshore to that tree and hopped it, and that fish swam down that tree and looked, and I shook it a little bit like I was bed fishing, and the fish ate my worm, and I caught it, and I went, that's going to cost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I definitely think interpretation is the biggest deal. I on any type of sonar, down imaging,
Yeah.
or 2D.
It takes,
side
what I'm
scan.
saying, it takes a lot more experience and knowledge to interpret a sonar of any kind than it does to interpret that live scope. I mean, you
Yeah.
see the fish next to the tree or next to the whatever
Right.
swimming in front of you. Like you have
Right.
relativity, you have size, a size comparison, and you can see it swimming, where it's
I
swimming
still-
as it's swimming.
I still think it's the toughest thing we've seen in sonar. And the reason I say that is most people are struggling with it. Your really good, confident anglers are paying Josh Jones $1,000 a day to figure it out.
Exactly.
They see so many fish.
Yeah.
They drop the thing in the water like, oh Jesus, there's carp.
But that comes back to
You know.
you got to spend time with it on the lake.
You gotta spend time
You
with
just
water.
can't buy it and think
It's
you're
all
going to go
interpretation.
out like Josh and
Yeah.
catch these 9-pounders, 8-pounders.
Or
This
go
dude
out
fishes
with
every day
Josh
of the week.
once and figure that out.
Exactly. Because that dude is a super nice guy. He'll show you whatever.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. And he's freaking good. He's
I've
freaking
never seen
good.
anything like it.
Because, like, dude, he posted his first thing of bass. I was like, oh, he's not a bass guy. Then it was like 8-pounder, 8-pounder.
All right, we got a question from a boy, Todd Fleischer. When throwing swim bait this time of year, what's the best retrieve speed, weedless or line through?
Slow.
I mean, that's a day-to-day question. I mean, that depends on the
What
activity.
swim bait are we talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, what swim bait? That's another
To me, I'm gonna go fast to slow. So, what I mean by that is I'm gonna start out reeling it pretty fast, and then I'm gonna start
What swim
slow.
bait are we talking about?
Yeah, well, that's a bit. If it's a line through, that you can't go too
You
fast.
can't really fast.
But if we're talking about a hollow belly, you can go flying through the water with that thing.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna start out kind of what most people probably consider normally like a medium or a little bit of a high medium. I'm gonna go pretty quick. I'm gonna wind it.
And it also depends. Are you throwing on like a 6-8 to 1, 7-1 to
Yeah.
1, 7-5?
Well, and then if I do that and I don't get any bites, I'm gonna start slowly slowing down. And the first time I get a bite, I'm gonna stick with that speed for a while and see if that's it.
Yeah.
Because I want to fish that bait as fast as it'll let me fish it and bite it.
Yeah.
Like the faster I can wind it in and make them bite it, the faster I can catch them. So I'm gonna start fast and slow down. But typically this time of year the water's still not real warm. It's still in the 60s most
That's a
days.
loaded question.
Typically this time of
That's
year
a
you
big
gotta
loaded
you gotta
question.
fish a swim bait pretty slow.
And like, how fast do you fish a soft plastic?
The main thing I've been
Loaded,
doing.
loaded, Todd. That's loaded.
Yeah. Well, the main thing that I've been doing is because the other day we caught them on a bait and it was like this. The next day, it was doing it like this. So what I'm doing is I'm casting it out and I'm trying it with one certain deal about 6 casts in a row. If I don't get bit doing it like that, then that's kind of how I do it. But I usually give it about 5, 6 casts and I'll try to do something different. But then that comes back to, are we talking about line through, a weedless, what bait?
Yeah, y'all gotta give me a swim bait. I can't just say. I don't know what the answer is.
Randy says, Caleb, bring me a beer and stop this madness. This is grown man business. Randy's an idiot.
That's his beer assistant, Caleb.
Favorite size chunks and weight for sight fishing / flipping in the spring and why? Well, sight fishing and flipping are two different things. As far as the size and weight.
Such a complicated.
On sight fishing, it's quarter ounce to 3/8 ounce. If I'm on Lake Fork, a lot of times I'll end up using 3/8 ounce because I'm making really long flips, trying to stay way out off the fish on Lake Fork because they get so much pressure. So I go to 3/8 ounce so I can make those longer flips more accurately. Most of the time, I like to fish with a quarter ounce when I'm sight fishing. Now, for just flipping, bro, and when it starts getting to this time of year, moving forward in the post spawn, when everything starts speeding up, man, I'll go heavy. And especially as we start getting some post spawn fish, I might want to punch a little something if I see something to punch. And then we're talking about 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce, whatever. So flipping and sight fishing, two different deals.
Yeah, I'm with you on sight fishing, 3/8 ounce. Flipping, all the way from a 16th ounce Nico weight in a Cinco up to 3/4 ounce weight flipping gator grass.
Yeah. I like to fish. I like to flip with big. If I'm just going around flipping, I like using bigger stuff from now till throughout the summer. Really.
So I've got something I just kind of call it light flipping. It's 16th ounce, 8th ounce Texas rig or the clout. I've been taking the clout on a 3/0 hook and just putting a Nico weight in it and just kind of staying on the edge of the gator grass where the females that we don't see responding, kind of light flipping that. And I'll do that through the bluegill. That's a great bluegill spawn method.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little bit slower. And again, I'm talking 16th ounce. I'm only talking this much water too.
Yeah.
If I'm easing out to some timber that's kind of in 3, 4, 5 foot water, I might move up to 3/8 or something like that.
Yeah, that's a little disclaimer I need to add in there. When I'm talking about flipping the heavier weights, it's not a brim spawn deal. I will use a Texas rig a bunch around brim beds. And when I'm flipping to those stumps around that brim bed, I'm using a much lighter weight. I'm using a 1/4 and 1/8 ounce.
Right.
And I'm using something that looks like a little bread, a little beaver, a little prawn,
Jig.
a little finesse jig. And so I'm using light stuff that I can fish really slow and methodically on the outside perimeter of those brim beds. But that's a case where I'm fishing isolated areas. I'm fishing an area that's no bigger than this garage at the biggest versus when I'm just going flipping, I'm covering a whole creek.
Yeah.
And so when I'm covering a whole creek, I want to get reaction bites. I want my bait to fall fast. I want to get in and out, in and out. So that's when I use that 3/4 to 1 ounce bait in the post spawn flipping like that.
And I would definitely say this, most of the people that are going to be going fishing that we're talking to are fishing with 2 people.
Yeah.
Guy and his partner. It never hurts to have you throwing a, 1/4 ounce and me back here with a 1/2 ounce. Definitely doesn't. There's times.
Now you
there's
can
times.
there's
it
times.
matters.
Tell me this. Very few days for me do I hand my customers the same exact setup with
Yes.
the same exact bait.
No.
Very
Very
seldom does that. I mean, I've got to be so dialed in for that to
Right.
happen. Most of the time, I start my customers throwing maybe a very similar bait, very similar technique, but it's 2 different variations of that to
Right.
try and really
Right.
dial in that bait day to day.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Same here.
Okay.
Sorry.
This one for Ronnie. How are you, homeboy? Do you use Tokyo rigs offshore?
Man,
I've
what's
never
up,
gotten
Bill?
in. I've never gotten in on that deal.
Tokyo rigs. I think it's
That's
a
the
good
deal with like the
technique.
little
Yeah.
metal
Now,
drop shot arm.
I did use it sight fishing last week, and it worked for that.
It's a
but
great sight fish bait. It's
Yeah.
great for swim baits too. So so deep swim baits. So think
I haven't
think
thought
about
of that
this.
one.
So think about you got your Tokyo arm with 3/4 ounce weight. You got your 4/0 hook with a divine swim bait. Now you can throw that out there in 12, 14 foot of water and just do this. And that weight's keeping on bottom.
Yeah.
That swim bait's above the bottom doing this.
And it makes me
Swimming.
feel a little, I get what you're saying
So
now.
you got a little bit of
I got
Interesting.
you.
It's no different than putting it on a jig head. We throw it on jig. I know you do.
But it
Throw
gets it
some
off
on-
the bottom.
But it
Gets
gets
off
off
the
bottom,
bottom,
so they don't have to
it's-
physically roll and eat it.
You don't have to quite, with it not being a jig head, you don't necessarily have to have a 1 ounce weight or something. You could probably honestly get away with Tokyo rig on a 1/2 ounce weight in 12, 14, 15 foot water. Maintain it, especially like on 15-pound line. Keep that rod tip at, parallel with the water, pointing
Yeah.
back, and just keep that bait, and that bait coming in.
I
And a
tried.
stroker crawl would be bad to the bone too, I would think. It's
West
similar
Coast crawl.
in the way that I approach. It's similar to a wobblehead. Where you would throw a wobblehead would be similar to this.
Now I'm on.
And I have thrown a swim bait on a wobblehead plenty of times.
Yeah.
And just thrown that swim bait on a wobblehead, pulling the rod down, and go like it.
Think about. I think it's Bluegrass Magic. Is that the color that 6 Cents makes? Okay,
Green
so
blue.
that's a great bluegill imitation.
I love that color.
Tokyo rig swimming it right in front of the. If you were able to parallel the gator grass and just swim that thing where it's just staying on the bottom and it's coming right through that. I mean, I think that's awesome.
Oh, that's real awesome. I'm liking it. You're
I
creative.
like it.
You know, I
liking that a lot.
got to give some credit where credit's due here. You know, and a lot of people tend to do this. I'm not the only one, but you know, especially fishing the same lake predominantly, same areas over year over year over year. It's really easy to get caught up in the, you know, going back to the stuff that worked last year.
Yeah.
That's a really easy thing to get caught up in. And one thing that I've got to give Ronnie some credit for is this sucker is always being a little more creative than most. He's always thinking like this stuff that you just talked about. That's just stuff that I haven't even thought about in my head. People are like Tokyo rig. I'm like, I can just rig up a short drop shot if I want that.
Right.
But Ronnie actually takes it and thinks about it outside the box and, hey, I can do a swim bait, stroke crawl, whatever. And really, how can that application work in the areas that I want to fish for the fish I want to fish for? Take what you know about those fish and then find a new way to catch them. That's, I think that's one of your strengths.
I appreciate it. You know, and the other thing I think that I put a lot of emphasis on is finding new water, which you're doing every day.
Yeah.
And last year we did. You and I, you fished with me some after I found some new stuff that really, you know, the one spot I
Well, we have to find new water all the time.
but we don't. I mean, we don't find new water all the time.
We have
you
to
know,
try.
It's really hard.
It's
and
hard.
It's hard
I
to
don't-
find new water when you have people in your boat.
We have to try to find new
It's
water.
hard to find new water when it's a struggle. Do I waste an hour and a half of this man's
Exactly.
time? You know?
Exactly. Yes.
Well,
But
that's a
you
challenge.
don't want to get settled, and you don't want to be like, for instance, me and Randy the other day had a great day of fishing, and we caught a lot of our fish in a spot I've never fished. And I knew I'd never fished this spot or this area, and I knew I had a day with Randy, like you said, started doing that. I knew I had a day with nephew. I could run and go practice.
Yeah.
And just so happens we pulled up, there were birds lined up on a point, so it kind of worked out for us. But I think all anglers, and listen, I want to tell you something else. And I'm glad you brought this up. I remember this, thinking to myself, when I really was throwing a drop shot a lot, and I used to, which I know a lot of people now throw a drop shot a lot. That's a normal deal to see this getting flung all around the lake.
Yeah.
Used to not be. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And in
It's
fact,
still not normal. Mama.
most of your anglers our age and above didn't learn to throw a spinning rod until they were like adult. I didn't throw a spinning rod until I was an adult.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why I
me
reel
neither.
my spinning rod right-handed. Everybody's like left-handed. I'm like, how? That don't make no sense.
Yeah, to me that's just weird why you reel a baitcaster right but left.
Yeah, but when I was John's age, I remember thinking to myself, these guys that are sitting over here telling me these new techniques are dumb or pointless and all this stuff, I remember thinking to myself, don't be that guy. Don't ever let yourself, and I still struggle with it daily, over all the complexity of our business.
Oh, I
Yeah.
definitely tend to
And
get into that.
And it's hard because it's time consuming. You don't know about a Tokyo rig or Panoptics.
Yeah.
But the guys that go out there and they figure it out, they're open-minded. These high school, I tell you this all the time. You know, when I was a kid, my brother would say stuff, or when I was younger, you'd see an older guy on an old boat, and he'd be like, man, that dude right there will spank you. That dude's forgot more about fishing than everybody. I'll take that dude's money in half the lakes in the damn world. And I
Yeah.
will put all of my money on a college angler over a 50-year-old Lake Fork fishing guy
Absolutely.
every day. Because these younger guys like Jonathan, and like you to an extent, are really open-minded towards all these new trends that are coming in. You know, we don't shake our head at new trends in clothing or automobiles or anything else, but when a fishing trend comes in, a lot of us closed-minded older guys, we start to...
the culture of bass fishing is to kind of snub the new. It always has been. You know,
Yeah,
bass
always
fishing
has
is
been.
definitely behind the times technology-wise. It's always behind on that.
And I think it's so important, man. I get a jerk bait's an old bait. It's been around, but some people get in the boat and never thrown it. And all these things, I've never caught shad spawn fish on jerk bait. I have now.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking that joker off.
Thank you, Brandon Cobb.
Um,
Thank you.
But it's so important for us as anglers to be open-minded on the new trends. Trends come from California, they go to, or from Japan, they go to California,
Bro,
and they
the
come
big
here.
swim bait deal that everybody loves now was one of these things. Everybody,
That right there.
everybody in California was throwing stuff that looked like this,
Except they're
and
throwing
everybody
that was
over
a lot
here,
bigger.
everybody over here was going, "What in the hell are they doing?" And
Yeah.
then a few guys started throwing it here, and you were around when the few guys started throwing it here, and it like they were.
Yeah,
Dust
drop
them
shot's
off.
a great one. Drop shot's probably the most commonly used bait on Lake Fork throughout
Yeah.
the year.
Now.
I think it's thrown morning, and that came from Japan, California, Italy, and all that, and then it comes over here, and we had so many guys back in the day. A dude looked at me one day in the face, and he goes, "Ronnie, there will never be a tournament won on Lake of the Pines on a drop shot."
And it happened.
Oh yeah,
All the
of course,
time.
Probably. No, tell.
All the time.
Have you won a tournament on Lake of the Pines on the drop shot?
I think so. Me and Eric either won or got
Well,
second.
y'all used to
one,
fish so
like
many.
the next weekend. Like after that was said, we went out there and jacked.
Y'all used to fish so many back then. So. Who is the best drop shotter out of us three? Definitely not me.
I'm gonna
out.
just from the lake that I come from. I'm not trying to make my head sound big. I'm gonna say me just because I had to keep it in my hand all the time.
Ronnie's gonna take that.
I throw a drop shot. A lot.
I
Right,
see.
Just because
I
had-
see a challenge series video in the making
Well,
right here.
Just because I had to throw it nonstop. That's the only reason
Yeah, you
that's the
threw it
only
away.
reason that I'm saying it.
It's not something I want to be known as. I can tell you that.
Yeah, same.
I would much rather be like that dude right there is real good with a 3/4 ounce football.
That old deep cranker.
Yeah,
That is
Crank.
one thing that you're known for on this lake.
What?
Is that
Legit?
huge freaking crankbait.
Oh,
the big old plug.
That's so funny that I'm known for a crankbait.
You definitely
well,
are.
that, and a buzzbait and a frog.
I love buzzbait.
You love that buzzbait.
The buzzbait's my new favorite bait.
Shout out to Duplashane. So I gotta tell, because we mentioned the big swim baits coming here, so I gotta tell a cool Duplashane story. Brian Duplashane is one of the most legendary. He's one of all of
AC
our
plug.
favorite people on earth. He is just an amazing. He's South Louisiana. He's got that accent.
He's awesome.
Still, he's been here for 30-something years. He's still got that South Louisiana accent, and he is just one of the best human beings you'll ever meet, and one of the best trophy bass fishermen of all
Absolutely.
time. He's not a guy that's really known, and
What'd they say about Duke? I'm just curious.
no. Joe Don just said shout out to Duplashane when I mentioned the big swim baits getting brought here because
That's
the
good. dude.
real
That's
grand
good.
poobah of all of the big swim baits is Brian Duplashane. Brian Duplashane, back when the swim
AC
baits
plug.
were but no, this is a different story. I'm talking about the big paddle tail swim baits. Duke started it
Oh.
all. I'm gonna tell you, Kelly Jordan told me this story because Kelly Jordan was guiding every day and really good friends with Duplashane back when this happened, and this was in the 90s. Duplashane, back when the big swim baits were becoming a thing in California, the big Castaic shads, all that stuff. Duplashane actually caught a gizzard shad, froze it, sent it to Castaic, and said, "Make me a Castaic shad that looks like this gizzard shad." And they made him 5 or 6, and he was the only cat on the lake
That's
that
awesome.
had them,
Dude,
and just
Good
whacked
job,
'em.
Joe Don. That was awesome. Joe Don was
Just
with us
whacked
that morning. We were all at the marina and we were visiting that morning, or maybe you weren't there. I can't remember. Me and Joe Don sat with Duke and we talked about the big swim bait deal one morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
Kelly
job,
told an
Paul.
awesome story
That's
about he pulled into the marina one day and seen Duplashane, and he was white as a ghost. And he was like, "Brian, are you feeling okay?" And he's like, "Man, Kelly," he goes, "I lost the biggest fish I've ever seen." And if you don't know Brian Duplashane, you have no way to know this. Fishermen are known to exaggerate, but not Brian.
No.
Brian Duplashane, if he tells you, what do you say? If he tells you it's Christmas, you better buy some presents.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Brian is as honest and humble as anybody you've ever met in the fishing industry. And Brian told Kelly that he had a fish that he thought was a 20-pounder. Come up beside his boat and eat that Castaic shad, that gizzard shad that he had made. And it just started running and pulling drag. And he said, I could see the fish the whole time, Kelly. And the fish just went out there about 15, 20 feet, stripped drag, and just went, and the bait came out. And I haven't, I haven't recovered from it all day. And Kelly said, I know the story was true because every day for like a month, Duplashane was on the same spot the entire day trying to catch that 20
That
pounds.
used to be a deal. So these older guys, when they would see like a freaking huge fish, they would, like Larry Barnes took 30 days and cleared 30 days out to fish for a fish one time.
Yeah. Well, because back then you could catch,
Take it back. I did.
you
do
catch
that
a
one
17
time.
or
And
18
make
or
your
new state
career.
record. Dude, look at Mark Stevenson.
I
He's
know.
in the Texas Fishing Hall of Fame because he got the state record. So, it's
And he boat flipped it.
did he?
You know that?
No, I
No.
don't know. Turkey.
He's like, wait, huh?
Like you said it, I'm like,
What
wait,
happened?
and I'm sitting here thinking in my head,
Dude, Billy just
no.
called me a turkey. I'm gonna get him some white socks and some of them Velcro sandals.
You little turkey.
Put him in a
you.
minivan. Awesome shout out, Joe Don.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna rag on you about your wife making your life.
C-Bach, this is important. Are y'all turning business down because of COVID? Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. We're not
If
turning
you're
business
coming from New York, I'm not taking you out.
Or Louisiana, because I got it pretty bad.
Did they? That's New Orleans, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's
So,
mostly New Orleans.
Let me just take that back then.
Yeah.
Never mind.
If you're
I've
coming
had
from New
people
York, I'm
ratchet.
out.
Well, listen, if you're scared of Louisiana, you're sitting in the wrong garage because I had some dudes from Louisiana this week. So,
Louisiana, it's
Yeah,
like
that's
New Orleans.
true.
But New York,
yeah.
I'm out. If you're from New York, kind of already out anyways. Like, I'm just gonna be honest.
Yes. Although I will say this, you remember the ultimate prank, like the end of the prank?
Yeah.
Your customers
Yeah.
said they were from New York.
Bro, they don't
Wait, is
live
that
in
the
New
guy
York.
that had all the rods and
Yes.
stuff?
So
Okay.
no, my real customers that
The
day.
customers that actually fish with
They
you.
moved
Oh,
to
I got
Florida
you.
so that kid could fish.
That's so
Dude,
awesome.
he's so awesome.
That's
That's
so
some
awesome.
good parenting.
Definitely not turning business down and don't plan on it.
Yeah, we're not turning business
heck
down.
no.
We
Not
and
at
we
all.
are. By the way, we are. Thank you for asking that. We are open for business. Both of these guys
We
are
are.
here due to cancellations for people traveling and not being able to travel on job situations. There's a lot of companies that are restricting travel for their employees if they want to keep coming to work. So everybody in the guide business is dealing with a lot of moving parts on their schedule. We've had a lot of cancellations and refills and then other cancellations. So if you guys want guide trips, you can always reach us at yourlakefortguide.com. We have a phone number there. You can text or call. We have a linked email there you can send out, and you can get a trip with any of the three of us that you want. We'd love to help you
Yeah,
out.
absolutely.
We'd love to
Hey,
help
lodging
Absolutely.
is no problem. Food's no problem.
you out. Food's no problem.
Everything's open. You can't sit down in a restaurant other than that.
But
everything
they
in-
but they have
Yeah,
outdoor
it's also-
pavilions,
yes.
and we go up there. We order takeout. We go sit on the
Yeah.
pavilion and eat.
Yep.
It's still the same experience. It's always been.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. The guiding experience that you get when you come down here is just the same. There's no restrictions on Lake Fork right now as far as people going out or anything like that. There's no ramp closures.
Oh,
We're
no.
wide open for business, just like always. The beautiful part about our business is you're around less than 6 people or whatever the number is now. You're only around 1 to 2 other people at a time, and you're always staying more than 6, 10 feet, whatever it is, apart from everybody.
Sure, and and one thing is we're all kind of wearing buffs for the most part. I'm asking my customers for buffs. I'm taking those little Lysol wipes. I'm gonna come
Yeah.
down, just kind of wiping handles down in the
Yeah.
boat. on the
Yeah, we're
rocks.
keeping hand
Yeah.
sanitizer in our boats. Yeah.
And the virus cannot live in heat. So if you're out in the sun,
Well, that's
No,
that's
that's-
not
that's
that's
not-
not a
that's not
fact.
true.
That's not a fact.
well, it
They
is to
said
an extent.
It survived all the way through the Australia summer.
Oh, then we're all screwed.
No, yeah, the heat thing is just that's a myth.
They were thinking.
Fake news. They were
Fake
hoping.
news.
They were hoping that was
They were
true.
hoping.
They were hoping it was like regular flu. It wouldn't do the summer.
Corona updates right here on the Your Lake Fork Guide.
Corona updates. That's right.
This channel went south in about 5 minutes. Started talking about the dang coronavirus.
All right, guys, we've been going for quite a while. I'll tell you what. Hey, either one of you guys open, long as the schedule permits. May have to do a little bit later, but how about next Sunday? We're gonna do a seminar again. Can we make this a weekly
can do
deal?
it.
Okay.
Hey,
I think
I've
I've got
also
it down.
got some dates open. Throw this out there. I got the 29th and 30th open
Of April.
of April.
29th and 30th of April is open for Ronnie, and we've got dates. Reach out to us. We've got
Yeah.
dates with Jonathan. Reach out to us. We'll get you on the water. So yourlakefortguide.com. We want to thank each and every one of you that joined us tonight. Drop a thumbs up before you leave. If you're listening to this after we've made it, after the live stream, go ahead and drop us a comment. Let us know what you want to talk about next week. Since we're going to have to do these live now, not in person like we were doing them, we can talk about any topic you want to talk about. So if you'll drop a comment on this video, we can talk about that in next week's seminar. We'll start doing these every Sunday. It may not be at 5 o'clock next week because I'll be coming back from Rayburn. I'll be at Rayburn next weekend, so it may be a little bit later. But other than that, normally it will be at 5 o'clock on Sundays. And we look forward to seeing y'all next week, man. Thanks very much. Appreciate you guys joining me. Knuckles. We'll see y'all next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.
Coronavirus. Woo, that Tylenol.